Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Money Wealth Show. This is a podcast that we interview people that are doing what they love for a living. So I usually interview guests that either have been successful at converting their side hustle or their passion into a lifelong job or enterprise, or people that are doing both, as in working a 9 to 5, but also doing something meaningful and are able to monetize it into several or at least one stream of income. Our target audience are for people that perhaps are working a 9 to 5, but someday hope to transition into a side hustle or a passion that they've had on the side. We also cater to people that are just leaving school and are trying to pursue their passion from the onset, as in not even trying to work for anyone from the onset. So I thought you were a perfect guest because you've transitioned from working a 9 to 5 into a full-time entrepreneur. So let me start by introducing you. On the show today, we have Bimbo Osunkunle, the founder and CEO of Cornucopia, a handcraft jewelry company. So, Bimbo, you're welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bunmi.
Thank you for honoring my invitation. So, I want to start by asking you for a brief background of what you were doing before you actually started Cornucopia.
Okay, what was I doing? I was working in a bank. So I studied economics. The next logical option after studying economics is to go and work in a bank. At least that was what we were told then. So I started working in a bank. I served in the bank and then worked there for a number of years before starting Cornucopia.
Okay. So, what was your inspiration for Cornucopia? As in, were you already inclined to jewelry making before finishing school or when you were much younger?
No, funny enough, not at all. I had never I didn't even think I was jewelry inclined or creative inclined before then. All I knew was that I wanted to own my time and that I wanted to, because so context, I had a growing family. I had a young family. My son was, I think, about 2 years plus, and I was around the time I resigned. I was pregnant with my second child. We're talking end of 2005, so you can do the math.
Yeah.
And I knew, and I was working in this bank. It was good, you get paid well, everything, but you don't have a lot of time. And my husband too works in a bank, or was working in a bank and still works in a bank. And something had to give, so that because for us it was very important that we give time to the children. We wanted to be intentional and all that. So I started thinking to myself, okay, what can I do to, if I stop my banking job today, what can I do? So I started exploring to see what I could do. And then I stumbled onto jewelry making, and I kind of just immediately clicked with it and thought, okay, this is something I can do, and this is something I think I can grow. So it was two things. It was something I could do and something that I felt could grow and all that. And and I decided to pursue it full time after learning how to make jewelry.
Okay, but jewelry making is pretty niche. At the time you started, did you think that you could actually earn a living from it, or it was just something that you thought would keep you busy while taking care of the kids?
Well, I don't think my intention was really something to keep me busy while taking care of the kids, because in that case, that would mean that I wanted to be a housewife taking care of the kids and then just have something to keep me busy so I won't be bored. That wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for a business that I could that could grow. So another context again is that at the time when this was 2005, I had learned how to make jewelry. I think in the year 2004, 2005, early 2005. And then I had all these ideas in my head about what I could do to about how I could take jewelry design or to jewelry hand creating handmade jewelry. I just had all these big ideas in my head and all that. And and I remember then this question you're asking me. Yeah, you jewelry design. I think when you are not in not the the jewelry business, it's a huge industry worldwide, and the multi-billion dollar jewelry industry generally, you know. But I remember that when I first started, and I'll tell people that, in fact, when I told my colleagues in the bank that I was leaving to go and make jewelry, they were looking at me like, "Is she okay?" And then I remember that for many years, when as in because I was pregnant, I was telling that I was going to make jewelry for a living. I was going to start this business making jewelry. They thought I was a joker, and they thought, oh, she's pregnant. She's just going to go and sit at home, and she's just telling us this story and all that. And I remember that time, I don't want to forget that, when I told people that I made jewelry, they would say, is that all? Because I think in their head, they just imagined me sitting down somewhere, making this jewelry, sell to, and that was it. But that wasn't the vision I had. When I was leaving, even though I started really small, started on my dining table, immediately I stopped work end of the November. I was in my third trimester. I remember I told you I was pregnant. I remember January
Yeah.
2006, I went to open my bank account. I went to open my account, my business account, because I had registered a business at some point. February of that 2006 as well, I had my first exhibition in my home 2 weeks before I had my baby. So I wasn't doing this thing as just something to shall do. I wanted to. I was serious and all that. And I guess that in retrospect, when I look at it, because 2006, that's like 17 years ago about and all that. When I look at it, I'm sure it really must have sounded silly to people. Now, entrepreneurship and creative entrepreneurship is very popular now. Then it wasn't that popular. Maybe the most that
Yeah.
was maybe fashion designer, people that would go and make clothes, made clothes for a living, But here was I, this lady that said she wanted to make jewelry for a living. It wasn't a popular thing, but I had a vision.
Yeah. But the go on, go on.
No, no, I'm done.
Okay. That's the interesting thing. I think sometimes because something isn't popular gives the person that's trying to start it the edge because competition is low, because it doesn't seem like it's something that will work. But and because I'm not in the fashion industry, from the outside it seems that jewelry business is niche. But as you said it, I now remember that, I mean, every woman wears one piece of jewelry or the other. So ideally, it really should be a market that moves as quickly as makeup. Not that you said it. So my assumption about it being low in terms of competition, does it still hold true now? And was it true back then when you started to?
I would say when I started, I feel that maybe the number of people doing the vision I had in my head really was that I thought to myself, if I was leaving banking to do this thing, I had to do it well. Okay. And
Yeah.
so I had like this in my head, I had like designs I wanted to create. I wasn't just going to string some things together and say people come and buy. Do you get? There was a way that I wanted my packaging to be. If you remember, I don't know if Kunle, your husband, designed my first brochure.
Yeah.
Do you get? So
I remember.
so I did have big dreams. I don't think people were doing it the way I was then, and all that. And then, of course, over the years, people have fallen by the wayside. Some people started it, didn't think it didn't grow, but there are people that have stayed with it. And then I would say the competition isn't as stiff as it is. And again, you have to remember that at that time there was no social media. Now there is social media. There are people springing up on social media every day. Doing creating, making jewelry. Your designs are easier to steal or copy. So it's a business that has a very low barrier to entry, but there is something to be said for someone that has been in the business for about 17 years. There's certain things I know because I've been doing this for so long, day in, year out, and all that.
Okay. So which brings me to my next question. You've been in it for 17 years. You know, the statistics say that an average SME dies in 5 years.
5 years,
But
yeah.
for you to have been in business for this long is actually quite laudable. You know, so what are some of the things that you think have enabled you to stay this long, given the fact that Nigeria's um, climate for doing business is not as friendly as abroad? And I'm assuming that probably most of the pieces or the base of your jewelry are imported. You know, so how have you been able to sustain your business so far?
First of all, I would say that when I started it, I knew this was what I wanted to do. So I was sure. That's number one. Number two, I think that my husband was very supportive. Okay. So he one of the things he said to me to encourage me when I was afraid, because it was like, okay, you're leaving this banking job. I was like to myself, you're leaving this secure banking job. They just promoted me to this thing that you don't know anything about. But he said to me that, if you never do this thing, you would always wonder that what if I had done that jewelry business that I thought of? But if you do it and it doesn't work out, you can always say I've done it, and then you can go back to your banking job or find something else to do. So do it. So for
Yeah.
one thing is I started it, because if I never started it, we won't be here having this conversation. Another thing is that I
Yeah.
think I stayed with it because I knew what I was meant to be doing. And I actually genuinely enjoyed making jewelry, designing jewelry. I was able to stay with it, and even at that time, it started as a small, right on my table. I was the one making the jewelry. I was the one selling the jewelry. That's how it started. But obviously,
I
I'm not the
remember.
one making so now you remember, my dining table, but the business has grown over the years. So I would say that the factors are, well, I've grown as what are the things that have allowed me to stay in business? I've evolved as a person. I think it's important for a business to continue to evolve so that it can remain relevant with the times. I think that, and Cornucopia has been able to do that. And I also think that, and one of the ways you evolve and grow as a person is by continuing to learn. So, for example, I knew that the creative aspect of making jewelry came quite easily to me, but I had to learn that you can study economics and work in a bank, but the truth of matter is, to actually run a business, you need to know how to run a business. So I had to learn the different ways, how to run a business. I had to apply some of my learnings from I worked in customer service and retail banking. In those were the skills I put in place when I started to run my business. Do you get? You're calling up customers the way you would do in retail
Yeah.
banking, attending to customers the way you would attend them as the customer service person in the bank, remembering your customers, all those kind of things. So, and Cornucopia is built around things like that, those kind of values, just customer satisfaction and all that, and all that. So, holding true to to the values of the brand have helped us to remain relevant. Me not being stagnant and saying, "Oh, it has to be done this way," evolving as a person, evolving as a brand. Those things have helped, and I remember I mentioned support. My husband's support and all that. He
Yeah.
didn't harass me, and he was just very supportive of the decision, and also with his actions as well. And so the other factors, but I think those three have helped.
in terms of actually designing the jewelry, I know you say you have people that make the jewelry now, but do you still design or you have people that design? And what goes into designing your typical jewelry?
Dumb question. Okay. Um, okay, so so right now there's the whole production process, right? And I'm still I'm still the lead designer, really. You know, every piece of jewelry is well thought through. Um, and how does that design process go? So first of all, it's like, oh, okay, design. We think about, okay, this is okay, I'm trying to think. Let me think. Okay, so what goes into the design process and then the production process, and they're two kind of separate pieces. So they're the second kind of jewelry that I like, or that the Cornucopia brand embodies. Let me put it like that. Um,
Yeah.
our jewelry is elegant, it's timeless, it's versatile. Quality is a given, but I'm just saying in terms of style, elegance, timeless, versatile, and all that. So those factors, three things I mentioned go into the design process. So when I'm thinking, okay, I want to create this, I think, okay, where would the that customer wear it to? What would they wear it with? Remember, it's an accessory. You're wearing it on clothing. So what would they
Yeah.
wear it to? How would they wear it? How easy is it to style? There are all those kinds of thoughts. Who would wear it and all that? And so that helps in selecting colors, textures, length, and all those kind of things. And also even in terms of the material. So for example, at Cornucopia, we use gemstones, semi-precious stones, and all that. And so selecting the stones, selecting the colors of the stones. There's a whole process around that. And then there's a lot of, so what you see as the finished product is a result of many hours and sometimes many weeks of iterating, and thinking, okay, so we do it this way. Oh, no, it's a bit too boring. Oh, let's try it this way. Oh, let's wait. And then a bit of testing as well. If you put it in the store, will people find it eye catching, and all that. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, very small nutshell, how the production process
Okay.
goes and all that. Yeah. But a key part of it is it has to be
And
wearable.
it has to be wearable. What do you mean? It has to be wearable, as
It
in?
has to be wearable. I believe our style of jewelry is wearable jewelry. What I mean by that is that
Yeah.
I want you to buy a piece of jewelry from us, and I want it to be relevant to your wardrobe. So when we're creating,
Okay.
we're thinking,
Okay.
will it be too
Okay.
heavy? Will it be too bulky? Will it be, even if it's a statement piece, it still has to be easy for you to wear. And, there are ways to make that
Okay.
happen.
Okay. And do you still source for your gemstones or the materials that you use for your jewelry in Nigeria, or you have to import directly?
No, so both. We source in Nigeria,
Okay.
we source from different parts of the world. It depends on what we're looking for. That's what determines where we
Okay.
source from.
Okay. And in terms of growing your brand and getting notoriety and popularity, how did you? I know there's social media now, but I'm wondering, was it just social media that helped with your brand, or did you have networks like church or women's association that kind of helped um, spread the brand awareness that you have?
Okay. So you remember, as I said, that at the beginning when I started my business in like 2006, there wasn't social media, there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't all these things, right? So
Yeah.
at those times, it used to be the face to face. They carry the jewelry to the office kind of thing, or and
I
then remember,
remember.
I was on my dining table for years. So my office, so even if someone wanted to come, they had to come to that my dining table. And if we wanted to go to them, we had to go to physically take the jewelry to them, and we did that a lot. I'm sure we came to your office, you know, or one of my girls came to your office, or me
Yeah.
myself, So there was that, and then it evolved to there was Facebook and all that, and we did a bit of that, and then Instagram and all that, and of course, with time, we now had a physical location. You know, Cornucopia is at so we've had a physical location at Jerry Keja in Lagos for since 2011, for example. We've changed locations once, as in two different locations. We've had a Lekki
Still with
location,
Jerry.
yeah, still within Jerry. And we've changed, and we also have a
Okay.
Lekki outlet, and we've had that for about 5 years and all that. And that the Lekki outlet is a collaboration. Let me just say that, but so we've been able to, using the Lekki outlet, we've been able to, for example, gain from collaborating with another brand, a clothing brand. Do you understand? But in terms of how did we gain traction, social, so should I say acceptance, recognition, and all that? It's really just been there, repeating our messages, ensuring that we continue to connect with customers and potential customers. And then for me as a person, I've also learned the importance of the founders, the CEO, not being closed off. So I've over the years, because I have taken part in, I've done all sorts of courses, business courses. I've done all sorts of, I'm part of women's organizations. I've, I've just not sat down there. So sometimes it's what people you meet at these, should I say events, or that become the network, the people that would become your customers, and even if they don't become your customers, they become aware of you and all that. So apart from social media has been great for us, but it's also been part of networks and not being closed off. And in terms of, let me talk a bit
Okay.
about in terms of social media. Social media has been great as well, and it has evolved, and it has been part of the evolution process. Remember that I said earlier that, as a brand, as a person, if you want to grow and remain relevant, you have to evolve. And when I
Yeah.
realized I wasn't an early adopter, to the social media game, but once I realized it was an important part of business in today's world, I knew that I had to basically make it an integral part of our business model. And I and part of that was, apart from posting and all that, me being more out there in terms of posting videos and all that. That was not comfortable, but I had to do that. And now, I find it comfortable, I find it fun and all that. But, those are part of the things that we've done, because on social media, people connect with you as a person. And,
Yeah.
beyond just connecting with your product, people connect with you, the person, and all. And I was that person and all that. So those are some of the things I have.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, but let me ask you regarding moving to Isaac John from home, was that because you had grown to the level that you could afford the kind of rent that Ikeja GRE would attract, or it was more strategic, knowing the kind of customer you wanted to attract and believing that that area would be the kind of area that would attract the kind of customers that you were hoping to target? So, like a chicken and egg
So it,
situation, which one came first?
I think it was both, because because there were certain issues I was having because I had my business at home and I had my staff on my dining table. When people
Yeah.
that are your employees are in your home, it's just not. So I remember complaining or presenting this challenge to someone in my business, because I'd done some courses in EDC of the Lagos Business School. And they said, well, it's because you are still in your house. That's why you're having this issue. If you move out of your house, you'll stop having this issue. So I was having certain issues, and I was agonizing over whether to continue to, bear the issues, or move out of my house. But then to move out of my house, it was not a matter of where did I want to move to. The places that my money could afford, when the kind of places I wanted, you know, I knew that if I wanted to stay on the mainland, the only kind of place I wanted was GRA Keja, specifically because of the kind of clientele that, I wanted to experience my products, and the target markets that I wanted were the right kind of place for them, or to meet with them, or to connect with them, was at GRA. So
Yeah.
so I think in 2011 I took that bold step. It was a very bold step, and it was tough. I must say it was tough. The first, I would say, 1.5 years was quite tough, and all that, because in your house you're not paying rent now. You're not, if
Yeah.
you can, but here you are, it was a stretching. Let me put it like that. But what that
Yeah.
did was that it forced me to grow. For example, I realized, let me give you an example of how it forced me to grow, or how it changed things. Those staff that I had working with me from home, when I got my business, when I got the office, they couldn't move with me because they were just, I think they were used to structure, the seemingly, this kind of like, the home structure is a bit more flexible. There's certain things you can get away with, but when you move to the store, you know, there's things that are a bit more structured, and there's certain expectations, like what time you get to work. That's an example. So those people couldn't move with me, and they had to they had to I had to look for new stuff, and I struggled in that area for almost a year, I remember. So it was a tough start, but it's something I'm eternally grateful for. I'm glad I didn't downgrade my desires and go to those less desirable places because they were cheaper. I'm glad I, started from Jerry Keja and all that. And and I hope I've answered that question actually, so that I'm not rambling.
You have. So, in terms of costs now, when you put in all your costs and you churn out a piece, what kind of margin do you is satisfactory to add to make it profitable for you, as in to keep you in business? So for each what should I call it, each
Jewelry piece.
article, for
Jewelry piece.
instance, in terms of percentage, is each jury, yes, what percentage do you budget as a margin that's satisfactory to make you happy?
Okay, well, one thing you have to realize is that when something is handcrafted, right, a key part of it is that you're not just selling the cost of materials, you're selling
Yeah.
the fact that you added value to it through design. So, as someone that has taken time and the effort to build my brand, Cornucopia, our margins are pretty healthy, but and at the same time fair, I would say, because of all the different things that we are offering our customers, and the promises we have made to our customers. So yeah, so we have good enough margins and all that, because that's really the only way you can stay in business and all that.
Stay
So
in business.
yeah, so our margins are healthy enough to keep us in business and to help us to thrive and all that.
Okay. But if you were advising entrepreneurs like yourself, or people that are trying to start the jewelry business, what kind of margin would you advise them to keep as a guide?
give a specific figure, but it's important that we do not forget to cost our time and expertise. That for the
Yeah.
creative entrepreneur, many times you forget that the fact that something comes easily to you, you forget that it still should be costed. So sometimes
Yeah.
people that are creative are not great business people because they're just so much in that their creative state, and they can make 10 million
Yeah.
things, and cost it. Should be the cost of material was just 50 naira. Okay, I'll charge 100 naira. You're not going to be able to grow if you do that. Okay. So it's important
Yeah.
as a business person to ensure that all your costs are covered. And the first basic cost is number one, your cost of all your materials, the cost of your time. Okay. And then you put whatever margin on top. And that's just even your cost of sales. Then, you have to remember all the, maybe like someone like me, maybe I was working from home. If you were going to assign a rent, even if you're working from home, see if your business can actually survive. I didn't do this when I was at home. I'm just saying it's hindsight now. But these are the kind of things we need to do, because you have to determine whether that business is just a hobby or it's a business. Okay. And if it's a hobby, all well and good, you can assign whatever costs you want. But if it's truly a business and you want it to grow and scale, you have to ensure that you are not afraid to impute all your costs and then put a healthy margin. And as I said, remember that your time and your expertise are part of the cost. You have to assign costs to these things.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you, in the course of these 17 years that you've been in business, when was your pivotal moment? When was the time that you knew that, yes, I'm on the right track. I'm here to stay, as in, because I'm imagining that as you were going, like you said earlier, there were times when you thought, or you were a bit discouraged. But at what point did you feel that, feel settled that, yes, I'm running a business, it's successful, and I'm going to stay with it? Was it
I've
something
had
in particular?
I would say I've had many different pivotal points. I've had many different pivotal points. I remember, maybe I can tell the last pivotal point. I don't even know if I'm in a pivotal point right now, but the last, I remember a few years ago, like 2 or so years ago, 3 years ago, I was having this conversation with someone that I felt as if I had climbed to a mountain. I was at a plateau, and I was about to climb to the other mountain, but I didn't know have the tools. I just didn't feel like I had the tools to climb to that next level of mountain. So for me, I think in running my business, I've had many pivotal points and seasons where I've just felt like, you know what, I need help here and all that. And the interesting thing that those different pivotal points, one of the ways I always would say that God always brought my way at every of those pivotal points. That was when maybe one course or one program would come up and equip me and all that. And I mentioned a lot about the need to continually learn and all that. And those those learning those learning opportunities would always come at my pivotal point. So I would go looking for them because I thought to myself, I don't know what to do. And um and and I would always find these learning opportunities and be able to move to the next level.
Okay. My second to the last question. So, who do you look to, as in terms of brands? Are there people that you regard as mentors, or you benchmark yourself to, and you think that this is where I would like to be? They might be international or local.
I don't have any names off the top of my head, but one thing I try to do is to
Okay.
look at my business not as a local business. I look at it as a global business, especially because
Yeah.
in today's world, there's no local business. The barriers, the boundaries are all pulled down. So your business has to be able to perform or to thrive if it's thrown abroad, if it's thrown to another country and all that, because there's no boundary again. We're not, no, none of us is immune. So I'm constantly trying to see whether it's in how we serve our customers, it's in our quality, it's in our packaging, it's in whatever it is, design. I'm constantly seeing, okay, how can we make it better? As I said, I can't think of any one right now, or maybe I prefer not to mention any names, but
Yeah.
that's a guiding principle for me. The fact that I see my business as a global and not as just a local Nigeria business.
No, but I see it in what you do. You know, I stalk you on Instagram. Oh. So I see all
But
your
you have
shows.
never seen
You
you
know,
in the store, so I'm not seeing the evidence of that stalking.
no, I'll get there. I'll get. Don't mind me. This working from home has
Turn you into
changed a lot of things. Like because I only work in the office
twice a week.
twice a week. I have no reason to wear makeup or jewelry. So I do very little when I am in the office. So and I anticipate that might be the case for many
Mm,
other people. But then again, that's for jury in the sense of for the working class.
muscles,
But I imagine
yes,
that
yeah.
because but I imagine that because the economy is open, COVID is over, people still go for parties, people are still getting married, that there will always be a reason to buy jewelry. So
And then
that's
you
good. I'm
realize that
assuming
our
that that's the case.
jewelry is also not even just for the ceremonial occasion. We don't only do the occasion pieces; we also do the everyday pieces. So we always have people either buying the everyday pieces or buying the occasion pieces for themselves or as gifts, and we get a lot of people that are buying gifts for people.
Okay. Okay. So it's been fantastic talking to you. The very last thing I wanted to say is that my custom on the show is to ask each guest to refer another guest to the podcast, because what we're trying to do is to build a community, provide information for people, both men and women, trying to monetize their passion. So after the show, I'm going to ask you to refer someone else that can share their story with me. I hope you'll be willing to do
Oh,
that.
I'll be glad to. I'll be
Okay.
glad to.
It's been nice having you on. Thank you. It's been
Thank
nice
you
having
for
you on the
having
show.
me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. Well
It's been a
done. Well
pleasure.
done. Thank you for creating
Bye.
the community.